It's Levack and Goz on 104.5 The Team.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Tell you what, we're all going to be watching on Thursday. NFL action. This is how it works in my house, guys. The parade, because you got to see Santa. You got to see Santa at the end. We usually fight over what network we watch, but I own the TV, so I win. And then, once Santa comes down, it's Christmas. Let's go NFL.
Right there, 12 o'clock. Watch the Lions kick off, and you're good to go.
Oh, and I'm in the entire day. Lions versus Vikings. That's going to be a great game. I really think that's going to be a very good game, to be honest with you.
Me too.
Then Dallas hosting the Redskins. That might be the game of the day. Because the Redskins are coming off a high. Got Kirk Cousins screaming you like that every 5 seconds to the GM and anybody who will listen. And then the Dallas team is I think that's going to be like the one that decides who the real teams are. You know what I mean? Because we all know Dallas is real. But Washington's got a really good defense. Fat Rob's running a ball like a madman. I love that he calls himself Fat Rob.
Me too.
Kirk Cousins doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He just continues to get better. Like the story of his life. Like high school, you're not going to make the team. College, you're not going to be a starter. Pros, RG3's a starter. Just hold the clipboard and make sure we don't screw up. And then every level, he ends up being the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and across the board, all 6 teams playing. We touched on this a bit earlier in the week, but really, you could still, right now, make an argument that all 6 teams still have a chance to get into the playoffs at some point this season.
That might be a crazy argument. Let's find out how realistic it is. Vinny Iyer, the Sporting News, he covers the NFL, and he joins us now. Goz just said all 6 teams playing tomorrow could possibly make the playoffs. Is he crazy, or is it realistic?
Well, I think it looks pretty good for 5 of them, so that's not a bad place to start. I mean, I don't think there's going to be 2 teams from the NFC North. I'll start with that right away. First matchup of the day with Detroit, Minnesota. Minnesota needs that game badly because Detroit winning that would be a season sweep, a game up. That's hard to kind of recover from that. A Minnesota win kind of opens the door for Green Bay again if they can get hot as well, or the Vikings to be in first place. So it's a huge, huge game. Usually it's not that game in Detroit in the first kickoff, but there's so much on the line there. I think the team probably with the least chance now might have had a chance if their quarterback was healthy. Was the Colts. They're going to have to start Scott Tolzien, unfortunately, and that's really tough to expect him to come in there and try to outduel Ben Roethlisberger.
So of all those 3 games, the most intriguing to you, the one you can't wait to watch minute to minute of is?
I think it's Dallas-Washington. I mean, I like points, and I like back and forth, and I like rivalries. That one doesn't get any better than that. In terms of Kirk Cousins is hot, that Redskins offense, running ball, throwing the ball, doing whatever they want. Dak Prescott is hot, doing whatever he wants, or Ezekiel Elliott. So a lot of points, a lot of fun. That's the entertaining game we want in that 4 o'clock window there.
Vinny Iyer of the Sporting News hanging out with us on what is a Wednesday, but a football Friday. So that late game, Vinny, when you look at that game, and it was 2.5 points favorite for the Steelers. They announced Luck's out, or everybody assumes Luck's out. It jumps up to 9. Is it going to be competitive at all in your mind?
Well, I think it'll be more competitive than we think because the Steelers' offense has a few holes. But that said, the one thing they actually do is stop the number 1 home run hitter type receiver, and that's T.Y. Hilton. And you figure with Andrew Luck gone, they have such good chemistry, those 2 guys. I think that's where they're going to hurt the most, not getting that ability to stretch the field. I would expect with Tolzien in there to be a lot of checkdowns, a lot of work to Frank Gore in the passing game. He's already heavily involved there anyway. So that's going to hurt them eventually because their defense isn't good enough to hold up here. Probably Vontae Davis is going to miss the game. Their best corner, that opens it up a lot for the Steelers from Antonio Brown and so forth.
Now you talk about Pittsburgh. When do you think we actually see the Pittsburgh Steelers live up to what we thought they would be, or do you think we even get to see that this year?
Well, I think when we looked at their offense, they haven't had their core guys together for too long. There's always been something a little off with them. So now that they're all kind of rolling, had that get-well game against the Browns, I think they'll be fine. The Killer Bees. On the other side, they're starting to get a little healthier there. Bud Dupree came back. They're not going to have Casey Hayward for a while, or Cameron Hayward for a while. That's a big loss there up front. But I think the team's going to get healthier defensively, make a few more plays like they did last week against some better teams, and you'll see the Steelers be more of a complete team down the stretch. And really, you look at this, they're even with the Ravens. I know the Ravens beat them head-to-head, but another Browns game, another Ravens game for the Steelers to make up that ground.
For me, evaluating head coaches, sometimes the best weeks to do that is off a bye week and also on an offense or defense when the best player isn't out there. We're going to see that without Andrew Luck this week. Chuck Pagano, his future in Indianapolis. Is this a game where the organization is going to look and say, what can this guy really do when he doesn't have a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback and Andrew Luck out on the field?
Well, I think when you look at it, it's more why Andrew Luck is not on the field, and that really comes down to the general manager and not taking care of him enough to improve the pass protection. I mean, you thought that they learned their lesson with Andrew Luck with the way he got bruised and battered last year, with Matt Hasselbeck having to start a lot of games, but they didn't. They really only got the center there from Alabama, but really didn't upgrade their offensive line. He's taking a lot of hits. Eventually, one was going to lead to a big injury. You saw that with the concussion. So I think it's still more about Ryan Grigson being on the hot seat than Chuck Pagano.
Vinny, Iyer, the Sporting News with Levack Goz right now on 104.5 The Team. So the game before that one, that's the one that we all kind of keyed in on. This Washington Redskins team, they put 40-plus on the board against Green Bay. Is that an indictment of Green Bay, or is this Redskins team better than a lot of people thought they were?
Well, I think offensively I've always liked Washington can do. The only thing really missing from all their weaponry and versatile weapons really across the board with 2 tight ends and 3 wide receivers was getting that power running game going. And here comes Rob Kelly, this undrafted kid, has given that to him. Matt Jones had really sputtered in that role. Give it to Kelly. He sets up everything and makes Kirk Cousins' job a whole lot easier. So still a team that can put up a ton of points. Now they're a little bit more balanced to go with that explosiveness. I'm not sure that their defense totally can hold up because they still have a big weakness against the run, and I think that's where the Cowboys exploit them on Thursday.
Dak Prescott overall in the quarterback position, Ezekiel Elliott running back. Are we talking, or should we even maybe more be talking about these guys as possible MVPs in the league?
Yeah, I think they should be right there in the conversation. I think Ezekiel Elliott kind of sets up what Dak does, so I think he kind of is a little bit more valuable. If you had to separate those guys, I think I would go in that direction. But, I mean, I look at these guys definitely in the conversation with the way they played. I think there's some few interesting candidates out there. I think Derek Carr, to me, keeps building his resume pretty well in Oakland. But other than that, there's no clear-cut guy, so you'd have to put those two in the conversation.
Vinny Iyer, the Sporting News, with us here, right? 104.5 The Team with Levack and Goz.
And Vinny, you wrote an article for the Sporting News entitled "Jets Return to Ryan Fitzpatrick: A Dull Decision That Had to Be Made." For those who haven't had a chance to read your article, what was it about?
Well, they really have no choice in starting Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, people want to see Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg, but these guys haven't even done enough in practice to merit being out there as a reliable backup. So when you've got those issues, they're stuck. They're just trying to get their veterans to buy in. All these guys that clamored for them to re-sign Fitzpatrick, get him back. They want to have them play out the string, maybe feel a little bit happier about being out there with nothing to play for when they thought they were a playoff team. So all that is coming into consideration. So they're basically just holding the fort until next year when they're going to make big wholesale changes across the board.
So, Vinny, we're your home for the Jets and we're your home for the Yankees. And during the Yankee season, I live by the mantra of if you can't give me wins, give me hope. So the Jets aren't giving us wins. If you don't throw Bryce Petty out there, where's the hope?
Yeah, you have to question how they got to the spot. I mean, they used for draft picks consecutively and quarterbacks, but not guys that they really want to play or inspired by. So and the one thing I'll have to say about losing a few more games, you get in better position to maybe have a shot at a quarterback that you really want with the way things are going in this draft. So I think that's the one thing you look at. If you get in a position where you're kind of in the middle and all that, you might be drafting another defensive lineman and disappointing the Jets fans.
We just finished up our segment here where we do fantasy versus reality. We give you the best investments on certain lines and games and also the biggest value plays in fantasy football. We know you're a big fantasy football guy. When you're looking across the board in Week 12, some of your favorite value plays this week in lineups?
Well, I think one guy that I look at is Rashad Jennings. He's had a few excellent games. He's still underpriced to me. I think he's like $6,800 or something on FanDuel. If you look at that price, and he's playing the Browns this week, and the Browns give up a lot to running backs, and Jennings is hot. So it's a good matchup between a player that's rolling and a team that is going to give him those yards. So that's one guy I really like. I looked up, and a couple guys that I thought were undervalued at quarterback. Russell Wilson at $7,500. Tampa Bay is really not good against the pass, so this offense is starting to get going with no CJ Prosise in there. I think they throw a little bit more, so he's a good price. And then staying down there in Florida in the home game for Miami, Ryan Tannehill, 7,100. They're actually letting him throw the ball a little bit, and they are playing the 49ers, so you got to like everything Dolphins this week.
Vinny, before I let you leave, I am an Oakland Raiders fan. I grew up in upstate New York, but somehow I've been broken, and I'm an Oakland Raiders fan. How real are these Raiders?
Oh, I think they're very real and spectacular, if you want to throw that in there. But you look at the way they're playing right now, if the season ended today, they would be the number one seed. They would be home field advantage would go through the black hole, which is amazing to me. But shades of 2001, 2002, maybe Tuck Rule 2 maybe going in their favor. So all that is setting up very nicely for them. They got to keep it up, though. They can't let up. The Chiefs and Broncos are right behind them, and they'll definitely have a chance to pick up a game this week if they can hold off the Panthers because the Chiefs and Broncos are playing each other.
Vinny, it's funny. Like just to tell you how much we love your fantasy football knowledge. Our producer's in the other room. He's like, if you're asking fantasy football questions, ask him who I should start, Jimmy Graham or Greg Olsen.
Yeah, I think you have to go with Greg Olsen in this one. I just like what he can do against the Raiders. And Jimmy Graham, I like the matchup too, but I could see it being a Doug Baldwin 3 TD fest and not much for Jimmy Graham sometimes. So it's pretty close, but I think looking at the linebackers of Tampa Bay versus the linebackers of the Raiders, I like Greg Olsen a little bit more.
Vinny Iyer for the Sporting News, making time for us before the Thanksgiving weekend. We hope you have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy all the pigskin.
All right, thanks a lot. You too. Enjoy it. Happy holidays.